welcome to Retail in the Runway. This is a podcast that's going to be talking more about the retail industry beyond the classroom. I'm Ashley Morgan, and I'm going to be your host. So this podcast is a collaboration between the Student Advisory Board and the Terry J. Lundgren Center. And we're excited to be here in the Lundgren Consumer Science Lab, broadcasting from here. So today we have a very special guest, Terry J. Lundgren. He's the former CEO of Macy's and the key figure behind our center. But enough for me. So let's get started with Terry. Hi Terry, how are you?
I'm fine, Ashley. How are you?
Good. Here with you. I'm very happy that you joined us and make the time for us.
My pleasure.
I wanted to start by asking, I know that being a CEO, it's a very big role in a company, like one of the biggest roles. So what do you think is the most misunderstood part of being a CEO?
Well, probably that you don't just get appointed, but you have to actually work your way through the various roles to get there, and that it doesn't happen overnight. It takes quite a while.
Yeah.
And that and then I think more importantly is there's a tremendous amount of responsibility that goes along with it. I always felt like I was responsible for all of my employees, and if I didn't make the right decisions and right choices and lead the company properly, that I was impacting the 140,000 at one point of employees that I had working for Macy's and Bloomingdale's and Bluemercury, which was all under my I was supervising all of those companies, and so I felt like I had a responsibility there. I don't think everybody quite understands that, and so I took that very seriously. I knew that they had a livelihood that was counting on me and counting on me making good decisions for them, and that's probably misunderstood by most people.
And how did you handle making big decisions to a big company? I know that you talk with a lot of people before making a decision, but how do you, your thinking process about that?
Yeah, well, in my case, I'm always, recognizing that one person never has all the answers. And so the best thing I can do is to ask lots of people who I have a lot of respect for and trust and who are knowledgeable in certain areas and roles that have a good perspective on the decision that I'm about to make.
Yeah.
And so I get their input first, and then I make sure that if I'm not going to go their direction, I might go the direction of someone over here. And if her idea is kind of in line with what I think is the right way to go, I'll tell her that's, at the end, that's good. But if his idea isn't quite, where we're going to go, maybe he has a different view, wants to go a different direction, I'll also try to go back and say to that person, hey, appreciate your input, and I did learn something from that, because generally I always do, but we're not going to go that way. And so I think it's equally important to make sure you tell people why you didn't go the direction that they did. So I get a lot of input. And then when I do, at the end of the day, it is up to the boss, the CEO, to make the decision to pull the trigger. And then I take responsibility for it. Because if it's wrong, no one remembers.
And you're the face.
Yeah, I'm the face. No one remembers, that it was anybody else other than me.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because that's part of the job, and that's a big part of the job. And it's the role and responsibility that you do take responsibility. And I was actually okay with that, because I also felt like, in many cases, if you didn't make a decision, that's the worst thing. If there's a decision that has to be made and you're afraid to make the decision because you might be wrong, that's the worst thing. Because then your people in your organization are like, what do you want me to do? I mean, you're not clear with me. And so I always believe that make the decision, get all the information, make the decision, pull the trigger, and then stand behind that and go. And if you're wrong, admit to you're wrong and change course and say, hey, tried that, it didn't work, but now we're going to try this. And same thing, get that input again and try again.
So my next question is about the technology and AI around the retail industry. So what do you think the future of the retail industry with all of this is?
Well, retail industry is so broad and vast to begin with, right?
Yes.
There's food retail, there's sporting goods, there's apparel and department stores, specialty stores, and so and obviously online factor and all of this. But I think the retailers who, for the most part, are going to be the strongest in the future, whether they're individual specialty store, whether they're off price, or whether they're mass or department stores, are going to be the ones who really focus on the customer and who offer an omni-channel shopping experience. So you can look at your phone, you can decide whether you like the product or not. Then you can come in and actually try the product on, feel the fabric if it's apparel, try the shoe on, whatever it is, and then actually think about it. Make sure you're satisfied that the pricing is right by doing your research online and then pulling the trigger perhaps on a laptop or a desktop. And so I think that omni-channel experience will always be important. Amazon hasn't really had that as much, and they've done extremely well. Obviously, they have almost half of the online business today is done by Amazon. So they have their own success stories, certainly without stores. They did do stores with food in Whole Foods that they own, but they really haven't mastered the physical side of the business yet. But they certainly have on the online business. And there's a longer story to that. But I believe that for most other retailers, the most successful formula will be one who sells in physical stores as well as online.
Yeah, like both. Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Yeah, because people want to feel the products and go and be like, oh, I want this product, and like you said, feel it. So
yeah, it could look good online, but when you actually get the product, if you haven't had a chance to feel it and touch it or feel the fit on it, it might be very disappointing. So that's why a very large percent of apparel in particular gets returned because of that factor.
Yeah. So talking more about the corporate side of the company, do you think a lot of roles are gonna be replaced by AI or technology?
We've talked about that in earlier classes that I was in today already, and the answer is we don't know the answer to that. There's because a lot of these companies, they think that they'd be left out if they weren't embracing AI as part of a method to improve the whole shopping experience and the productivity of their business, their retail business. But they don't actually know exactly how they're going to be implementing AI. So it's beginning to create a bit of a frozen moment for retail, and not just retail, for a lot of companies. They don't know. They think AI is going to help them, but they don't know exactly how.
Yeah. I had this professor that she told us we were talking about this subject, and she was like, yes, technology is gonna replace a lot of corporate jobs, but it also will have more jobs because of technology, because you have to work with it. People that know about technology have to work with the technology that they're implementing in the company. But I think it's we're in the limbo right now, like you said, where are we going? We don't know.
But I do think it would behoove all of us to learn more and more about and get comfortable with using technology, get comfortable with AI, and to see how we can use it in our own personal life, and then see how that might be applied to business as well. Because I think you first have to know more and more about it, and don't be afraid of it. Embrace it, learn about it. So that you don't get left behind as someone who doesn't really understand the potential impact of it. But I agree with you. I think like most technologies in the past, this one will more than likely replace some jobs, but will create other jobs. I mean, we haven't seen the whole picture, how it rolls out at this point in time, but that's my general belief over time or what will happen.
My final question is not about technology or anything like that. It's if you were 21 again, what would you focus on building first? Skills, relationships, or experience?
I think if I was 21 again, I would definitely focus on relationships because I think the skills we will all learn in any roles that we're going to have over time just by repetition. You can get experience is great, but you'll get those too. But what's going to connect with a recruiter is your relationship skills.
Yeah.
Because you want to know that any person that we're going to bring into our company, that they'll be a benefit to the company, that they'll actually, people will want to work with them, that they'll want to learn from them, that eventually there's somebody that has the personality that can rise up and eventually perhaps be a leader within their group, either mid management or even higher management. And I think those people skills are really important. And even if you're a shy person and a quiet person, then that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about a curious person. Yeah, a person who asks questions, a person who's not afraid when they run into a manager in the elevator, just to introduce myself, say hi, and as I was just saying to some students earlier, make an impression. Now, don't just say, hi, my name's Ashley, goodbye. Just say, hi. My name's Ashley. This is what I do. I went to the University of Arizona, and this is the department that I'm in today. I know that you're an executive in our company, and I just wanted to introduce myself and take a moment to do so. Just something that will leave an impression with them that says they might want to come back and follow up with you, maybe because of the fact that you did stand out. Because I'm telling you, Ashley, 90% of the students may hear this, won't do that. They won't actually take the time to make those connections, and the ones who will, and to do it properly, and again, make a positive impression, are going to have an edge up on you.
Yeah, they're the ones that stick out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Thank you so much for all your great answers. The retail industry is changing so quickly, and having someone as knowledgeable and experienced as you is extremely valuable. Well, thank you so much again to making the time and being here. And for everyone hearing us, thank you again and stay tuned.
Thanks, everybody.